What's going on, moms and dads? Welcome to the Fade You podcast, episode 197. Recording on, can you believe that? 197? That's crazy. Recording on Tuesday, March 7th. We are deep into conference tournament season. We got some wrapping up tonight, some just getting started today. And it's a great time of year. We absolutely love it. So we're thrilled you're here to join us today. My name is Matt. Got the usual dads with me here. Well, most of them at least. We got Kmart here with his assistant. Kmart, how's it going?
Pretty good. She's trying to find me another winner for tonight.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Professor Poopy Pants.
Yeah. She had some poopy earlier. Chris was showing off a coin. Man, that's nothing compared to what I had to clean up.
Poop infested episode already. We got Neil here, the bucket boy. Neil, how's it going?
So happy to be done with my poop days. I can't tell you. It's a great accomplishment as a dad when you get through that, and I can just focus on finding poop versus it being thrusted upon you.
Chris, you love poop. Have you had much poop in your day today?
Yeah. Well, thank the Lord. Rode Kyle on some spider poop. That was the easiest bet of all time then this morning. And then gave a little bit back with the Ramblers of Loyola Chicago and with Louisville, arguably the worst team in Division I this year. And what they finished, Matt? 4-28 or something?
I don't know, but Cal might have something to say about that, Chris.
Hey, Cal covers, baby. Cal covers.
You didn't ride me on Cal Baptist, Chris?
Yeah, there you go. Cal Baptist. I was thinking of what the other one I bet that one to cancel out. But then what do we got tonight? We got Merrimack, Ralph Michaels. Shout out to Ralph Michaels, the pen, giving out good, awesome trends, 59%er. We got Merrimack, and then I think Tarleton State fits that too. They lost twice to a team in the regular season, and now they're laying points in the tourney. So go Smelly Lines.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit of college hoops and conference tournaments and mid-majors. And we'll talk about kind of what we like to see happen in March. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on this one, so look forward to that conversation. A couple housekeeping things. First, the Fade You podcast is the sports betting show for the everyday bettor. Whether you are a total degen, like everybody on this podcast, or you just want some action, we are glad you're here and hanging out with us and checking out our show. Whether you're new or been here with us for a while, easy for me to say, welcome. It's good to have you. And we look forward to many great shows focused on college basketball throughout March and going forward for the next few weeks for sure. Definitely make sure you're following us on Twitter at Fade You Sports. Ton of good stuff retweeted by all the dads. And if you are listening to this, make sure you're aware that there is a video version of this available on our YouTube channel. You can watch the show live when we do live streams. That's definitely a good time. And if you are watching this on YouTube, thank you. Please give this a like and subscribe to the channel. And make sure you subscribe to the pod as well, so that if you miss a live stream, you can go back and listen to it. Definitely listen to our booze bracketology from over the weekend. That was great. Really great feedback on Jared's performance, especially. So shout out Big Red, shout out Jared. The people love Jared and need more of him for sure. There's a lot of Jared available. People want more of our.
Are you talking about his girth or his
everything? All of it.
Okay.
All of Jared. Yeah.
Can't get enough.
He was a big part of us a year ago, and now he's just too cool for school.
He's a busy dad. So we need more Jared. Fans love Jared. So check out Booze Bracketology. That was a really fun discussion that we still have a lot coming with that. Our episode with Adam Trigger last week. Adam is on just the craziest heater you've ever seen over the last couple weeks. So that was a great show. So check out our last few episodes as well. But on to conference tournaments in March. And right now we got the Horizon League Championship. I've got Northern Kentucky and Cleveland State in the background. Last night we had a absolute classic in the Sun Belt. That was a great finish. We've got the West Coast Conference ending tonight with Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Always a good battle. So, man, I mean, March Madness is great, but this week of conference tournaments is awesome. I don't know what I'm just sad I can't go to a game because the Big West isn't in Anaheim any longer.
It's all happening
That's
in
a
Vegas.
travesty. That was so much fun when we'd go. Just get absolutely drunk. Pre-game.
I feel like
smash
there's
more
5.
inside.
Isn't it there now? It's 5 different conferences are doing their tournaments in Vegas now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's
I'll
up
be
too.
there one day.
Wild.
To that point, Neil, there are some who say this is actually the better week to go to Vegas than because there's less people there this week than there will be next week. Shout out Ross in the comments. We do love Vegas. Ross actually lives in Vegas, so Ross could go to a lot of games this week. But yeah, there's less people there this week. There are all those conference tournaments that you can go to. There's still great action in the sports book. So there are some who say that conference tournament week is actually the weekend to go.
Yeah, I never really believed that, but I'm kind of leaning. I don't know why this year more than any other. I'm sort of leaning like there's just been games all day long. I feel like there's more of them too, that are spread out over this midweek. It's kind of bummed being at work earlier today. I hope my employer's not watching, but I was pretty unproductive.
I was going to say,
With everything going
tell
on.
me you weren't watching?
Now, of course I was, right? So freaking your first fire, your favorite bet, Richmond, tipped off 8:30 a.m.
Spiders. Yeah, fall that tried to piss it away.
Yeah, it never stopped, and it only gets worse. Like tomorrow, there's even more.
The 8:30 games are the best. It's like the opposite spectrum of the 9 p.m. in Hawaii. It's like, oh, we get it 8:30. Better wake up and put your bets in, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great week, and it's very close to what we're going to get next week with the tournament starting too. So, all right, we wanted to have a conversation about big picture, what happens in March. I got this idea over the weekend when Northern Arizona out here in the WAC had a crazy it was NAU's Big Sky, right?
Yeah,
their Big Sky. They had a crazy upset over number 1 seed in the Big Sky, Eastern Washington. And on one hand, I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. Like, we live for upsets and crazy finishes this time of year. But on the other hand, I was like, well, that's really shitty for Eastern Washington, who had a great year. And now the Big Sky isn't going to get their best team into the big dance. So I kind of started thinking about it and was like, well, what's better? Is it better to have chalk advance and get these classic matchups later in the tourney? Or is it better to have Cinderella come in and underdogs pull upsets and throw the whole thing into chaos? But then that has some consequences down the road as well. So are you a chalk guy or are you a dog Cinderella guy? Kmart, why don't you start?
I mean, I think it's a combination. Like, I mean, we like our dogs. We like taking points, but to what degree? Like, I'm all for rooting for Yale plus 10. You know, when they were in it, but money line, are they going to actually compete in a round of 32? If they get to the Sweet 16, are they going to actually compete? We see St. Peter's do it. Last year. I mean, they got me. I watched them all year, and I just couldn't see it. Just kept fading them and having to do the double down method because I'm just like, F this team, they're not that good. And it's fun, going back to all of us in Vegas. I forget what year it was, slightly off center Tennessee upsetting Michigan State. Like, I mean, it's fun like in a sports book, but then the next round when they get bounced and it's just not even a game, that's where I don't really care for it as much. It's fun in the moment, but then it really takes away, tournament action. And then you just have, similar to college football, a bunch of top teams, but one team's rolling over the other, similar to what Georgia did in the final. So, I mean, there's not as much parity, when you got 64 teams, but you're still going to get someone who can just shoot the lights out like St. Peter's did, and that's why they were good. They just all of a sudden were hitting 3 after 3 when they were known for defense prior to that.
Kmart, I think the Middle Tennessee Michigan State year, that might have been the chili dog year.
I think the chili dog year I think that was the year before. The chili dog year was when I was waiting for you and Kevin to get to Vegas, and I was watching USC come back against Providence at Caesars by myself and going, just looking for anybody to high five me. I was like Jimmy V, just like anybody, just someone celebrate with me.
A little different than USC last year. A little bit. Yeah. Fuck Miami, right?
They're still getting me. They're even better, and I don't like them.
Okay. So Kmart makes some good points. Neil, where do you stand on this?
I would stand and say I thought last year, just sort of in the whole way it worked, was about as perfect as I would like. I will take one Cinderella that no one knows about up until the Elite Eight, right? Take one team, get them all the way through, have that one nice story, get one, team in the teens that makes it through the first weekend. So you get that nice story and have them come out. If they get bounced in the Sweet 16, fine. If they get bounced in the Elite Eight, that's fine. I think it's a good story, but I'll take one, like Kyle said. At some point, their luck's going to run out. St. Peter ends up, I think they lost by 20 then to North Carolina, and that Final Four, was about as blue blood as you could ask for last year, right? With North Carolina, Duke, Nova, and Kansas. I think that's the type of Final Four that you want to see and have good games. But I like seeing one team, sort of put them on the map and let them go. But at the end of the day, I think we want to see the best teams. No one wants to see a 20-point blowout, which is bound to happen at some point with some of these smaller teams. But it's nice for the little guy to come out and give some lows. There's always a good story behind it too. So
but Neil, so you or go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, I was going to say, don't get me wrong. An 11 seed going that distance, I don't mind it, because a lot of them can be undervalued. It's just more those 13s, 14s, I think even a 15 got to the Sweet 16.
Well, that was St. Pete last year.
So it's just, the 11 seeds, those are fun. Up until, a lot of people think, 11, got no shot against a 6, but that's where the true parity is. 6-11, the 7-10, the 8 and the 9, all those are such coin flip games. These playing games with the 11 seeds. Those are great. And I don't mind seeing them. Hell, even going to the Final Four, we saw Wichita State do it, I think, in the first ever play-in tournament. So, that's kind of where I end it. 11, I don't mind seeing them go, but anything higher, it truly starts to drop off the talent. And
because remember, your 12 seeds are going to be your bubble team, right? Your bubble teams, and then
your mid-majors.
I don't know about so much as 12, not 12s, because generally it's passed up. Your 12s last year, right? Wyoming, Indiana had a play-in game. I'm looking. Your 11s were Rutgers, Notre Dame. 13 through 16 is your, I don't even know if you call it mid-majors.
Whoever
what's lower, what's lower than the mid-majors, right? When you talk about those teams, that's 13 to 16, almost solely. So your 12s are generally, I think, right? Your 12s are your bubble teams. Maybe you'll get maybe a Charleston this year if they end up winning tonight, and they end up 30-3 or something, have a 11-10. But I don't want to even be shocked. People are saying that they're not even going to they wouldn't make the tournament, right? If they lose this game, you can imagine having a 29-4 record or whatever and not making a tournament. But
so Neil,
look at their strength of schedule.
Your I guess your boundary is Final Four, because
Get to the Elite Eight. No, we don't need you in the final. We don't need you in the final.
So when Loyola did it, that didn't do anything for you? Sister Jean, when Loyola made the Final Four? No?
No, that was
It was a cool story, but then it was a cool story once, but having to hear the story 4 times killed it.
Right, you get the story the first. That's what I'm saying. You get the story. To Kyle's point, like you get that story the first week because everyone's like, "Oh my God, how does this team make it?" You hear the story the one time. You're going to hear the exact same story. If they make it to the Final Four, you hear the exact same story the second time.
But Matt, I think it depends on who you ask. I mean, none of us really give a shit about most of these schools who have made these tournament runs. But say we went to the school or have some type of fandom with them. I mean,
fandom.
Chris jump into this with fandom, but I think that's where it changes. If you have some type of invested interest, that's when it's like, oh yeah, you love it. Of course, it's the best thing ever, even though you didn't expect them to win round 1. But you're there for the ride and you're enjoying it. I don't know.
Fair enough. Chris, you love dogs and upsets more than most people I know. I'm curious your thoughts here. Is it a nice balance like these guys are saying, or do you just want as many dogs as possible, as much chaos as possible? Give me upsets, give me crazy shit. Where are you at on this one?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Neil, I guess, once you get down into those lower ones. But I mean, like George Mason and stuff like that, it was super cool. I mean, when we were young, when that came out, and like those are teams now, obviously we know like every school because we're such degens, we pay attention to all the poop. But back then it's like, who the hell, George Mason, But I do like to see it just because maybe if the people are gonna, generally think, oh, we'll fade this team, like they're just lucky. So it's kind of cool to see that team just keep proving people wrong. But I was in Vegas with Denny of all people the year that UNBC. I don't know if we'll ever see a 16 seed beat a 1 ever again. I never thought we would. I remember driving back from Vegas that day because we did like a Thursday, Friday trip and came back Saturday just for the first couple of days. And I remember just being like, oh my God, I think they're going to fucking do it. And they did. And obviously they lost the next round. But that still is awesome to me because, I mean, I got texts from my brother who lives in Baltimore. Oh my God, did you see it? So it's still cool though, because it goes to show that's why they play that tournament. And I mean, it does suck, like these guys say, to the next round that they're not competitive, but it's cool because every round there is. Like we were there last round. You're going to see one in the 64. You're going to see one in the round of 32. You're going to see one in the round of 16. Every round, it's kind of cool to have that one team that shock. So I like one around. Even if there's like a 6 or 7 point dog in the Final Four, it's fun to see it. And everyone, oh my God, how did UConn not do it? Or I can't believe, Duke lost. It's like, okay, I guess you don't follow sports. It happens every fucking year. But
do you guys think that there's something unique about basketball that makes it more cool when that happens? Like college basketball, I mean, you just contrast it with college football, right? You get these little schools no one's ever heard of from little towns that no one knows where the fuck they play. Like people don't even know what state some of these small schools are in, right? Like if you were to say George Mason, where is that? How many people actually know that, right? Not very many.
One money on Weber State last night. No clue where the fuck it is.
Utah.
Good to know.
There you go. But
I feel like we had that discussion last year, Chris. Like, where the hell is Weber State? And I was like, oh, it's in Utah.
Well, and Kyle, you made the joke about Middle Tennessee, right?
Yeah, slightly off center.
Yeah, where in the middle? Is it right in the middle,
right,
or where is it?
Just outside Nashville and Memphis. Yeah, who knows?
So do you guys think there is something unique about like the charm of basketball and seeing David go up against like the blue bloods, like you were talking about earlier, that in a lot of other sports, just the athlete, like football, I don't know if this would ever happen in football because you just get better athletes at bigger schools. So is it something unique about basketball in this tournament that makes it so much more that we root for it?
I mean, like for me, it's if you had Drake playing against Duke, David versus Goliath, like, do Yeah, I want to see Drake play well, because I've enjoyed following them for, I don't know, the past 7 years. But do I really want to see them beat Duke and advance further? Like maybe, because obviously if there's another upset, okay, it could still be a good game. We see a lot of 11 versus 14s or what. I don't remember what it is, but see double digits playing against each other. But like for me, a true like a David versus Goliath, I'd rather see is like, I don't know. I'm trying to think who's number one this year. Like Houston against, I don't know, West Virginia. A team that everyone's kind of down on. They've played really good competition, so they're just kind of sitting there, not expecting much. That to me is where like the true like competition comes out, because everyone's going to be, oh, there's no way. There's no way. You got a team that lost 5 games all year versus a team that lost 14 games. No comparison when on paper. And if you look at what they do, there's a lot that they can do to disrupt what Houston does. So that's where I like to see it, instead of a blue blood versus a conference, that's essentially D2.
So with no Eastern Washington, let's say Weber State comes out of the Big Sky, right? They would be a 14 probably. So who's a team that's going to be a 3? Like a Auburn?
No, not Arkansas, but let's see.
Somebody who's like a top 12 to
Texas,
15 Ken Palm team,
Kansas, right? Even Gonzaga,
Yeah.
Arizona.
What do you think, Chris? About you're the one who always wants the bigger playoff in football, right? Yeah. You want to see the upsets. You want to see you want to see the American teams get to play the SEC teams in football. How different is this from what we're talking about? Like little school, mid-major, winner of the Patriot League playing up against the big boys. How different is this what we're talking about?
Yeah, my reasoning for the football is because I'm thinking more like seeds 3 to 8 they're gonna beat each other up and get to go play. And I'm just like, are you telling me that like a team like whatever seed 6 that didn't make it in the top 4 this year wouldn't have competed against TCU? Of course they would have. So that's my point. But maybe nobody. Look at Ohio State's a field goal away from not even, sending Georgia packing. So stuff like that happens. But yeah, the cool thing about basketball is, we always played modern day at Bosco, and like we were always within 2 or 3 points, and then they would pull away and win by 5 or 6. We just couldn't get over the hump. But that's what's cool. You're all like in basketball, it seems like they're always and obviously we see about a couple, 2 or 3, maybe every tournament. We see that maybe not all legit buzzer beaters, but last second shots. Because if you're down, if you could just hang within a bucket or 2, keep it within 5, and you hit a 3, get a stop, and hit another miracle 3, all of a sudden you should have lost the game, but you pulled it out. And that's what's cool about basketball.
Especially with the 1-and-1s.
The 1-and-1s, and with football, you're up by 2 touchdowns. That's a lot of work to go get that score, kick it off, get a stop, force a punt, and go down and get 60 more yards. Where basketball, the possessions are so quick, it can happen fast. So,
and I think what I said for basketball, and the reason it's so a little bit different is that you have teams that if you're a senior and you're 22, 23 years old, going against these, one and done freshman type of teams, at the end of the day, those are still 18-year-old kids on that one and done. They may be, the next big thing off to the NBA, but the discrepancy between a 23, 22-year-old kid who's been in a program, for 4 or 5 years, has built like a camaraderie with their teammates over that time. You see it. How many times you go to the Y and watch a bunch of 45-year-old men with knee braces on, and these guys have been playing with each other forever. They could dominate, much more athletic, kids in their 20s, just because They know where they're supposed to be. They know where their teammates are going. They've been doing it for years. So you look at a team, and I'll say, and I watched this game yesterday. But like Furman, right? If you go back, that was one of the coolest things, given what happened last year to them, losing losing that championship game to Chattanooga on that miracle shot. I think I remember texting our group saying, "Wild last year." That I won't forget it. That thing was wild. That Furman, lost that one after they were, faves in that game, and then you hear the story last night that like their top 3 players all decided to return. Like they had offers, they could have gone anywhere. So you've got 3 seniors that have been there. They've been playing together. And what did you see? You saw them come out yesterday and they beat a good Chattanooga team. Like that to me, that Furman team can go play with it. Like they have the experience to go play with anybody. It's going to be that one's going to be an interesting team to see where they sort of land, just given the experience that they have, and sort of again you saw like what it meant to the program. Would it have been like 43 years or something since they had made the tournament, and that was a very cool scene for a very small program. And just hearing that story of what the guy, that the guys all decided to come back, that they had such a sour taste in their mouth, and they're like, "No, we've got to fix this one."
And
that's what you love to see.
Yeah, I mean, you stole what I was gonna say. I mean, I think that's where you're hearing this week is better in Vegas, because you have the pageantry and these kids who actually care about their jersey.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And that's why this week is fun, and that's why college sports, I think, are better than pros in so many ways, because they actually give a shit. They're playing for their school, for their teammates, instead of for themselves and for a paycheck. I mean, a lot of these blue bloods, they're there to get to the next level and make that paycheck. So you just don't see the passion as much. You see the anger, but I think there's a fine line between that and passion. And that's what you see in these games that are going on right now. And that's where it's fun. But then when you get to the tournament, you still have these kids where it could be their last game, but
especially with the smaller conferences, right? The one bid leagues where it's like, all right, this is our one shot to get in. Like, I mean, the Pac-12 tournament and like those are good, and those can have really good games and finishes. I'll never forget Isaiah Thomas winning the Pac-12 tournament for Washington on a crazy shot. I mean, that was probably 10, 11, 12 years ago at this point. But I mean, with the SWAC and like the Horizon and the Summit League, where it's like, all right, guys, we have one chance to get in and we have to win our tournament. And when you talk about guys playing for their jersey and like playing for that once in a lifetime chance, none of those guys are going pro. So I would totally echo what Kyle said, especially with those small one bid conferences. It's so fun to watch. Like watching the Sun Belt final last night, you could see that thing was so tight and so close between South Alabama and Louisiana. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah. Like when Long Beach State was in it 10 years ago, 12 years ago, with Casper Ware and George Enos, who actually, scratched an NBA franchise, the Thunder. Like that, I thought that team had a chance. They came up just short against, I think, New Mexico State. But, I think when you have, a reason to care, that's when it makes it more. But then there'd be somebody on the other side saying, well, screw that story.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I mean, how fun was it to watch that, like Steph Curry at Davidson make that run? Do they make the Elite Eight or Sweet 16 or something? Like nobody really knew what Davidson was either. Was it, how long ago did Oral Roberts, was it 2 years ago when they almost made, they were like was it Ohio? Who did they play? They played a big school and they were probably catching 10. I remember walking into the bar and some lady had an Oral shirt on and they were cheering for, and I think they covered. I think I had the points, but I think like Neil said, there's something about these teams that are smaller that come back together. So those guys might have been freshmen that year, sophomores, and now they're seniors. And they won 28 games. They win this tournament. They're going to almost be a 30-win team. And, I mean, to do that, to run, they're like, 18, 19-0 in conference. To do that, I don't care what conference you play in. that's pretty badass. Their only 4 losses are to like St. Mary's and Houston, like all these good ass teams that are going to be in the tourney anyways. So I mean, if they get disrespected and get like a 8, 9, 10 seed, a lot of people are not even going to really know who Oral is. They're going to say, oh, they play in the Summit League. Who the fuck are they? But we're going to see. It's probably going to be a smelly ass like plus 3.5, and Lord knows I'll be all over it with Kmart and Buckets and Joey Cheese and everyone.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, you were
Neil,
right. So I was just going to say Chris was right. They beat Ohio State.
That's it.
I think Tennessee, and then lost to Arkansas.
No, I thought it was
years ago.
I thought it was Florida. I thought they beat
Florida. Yeah. Florida.
It was Florida.
Was it 2 years ago? Was Chris right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
2 years ago.
21.
Okay, there you go. Nice. Neil, you mentioned Furman. Chris, you mentioned Oral Roberts. As we're looking ahead to some of these wrapping up, and some have a couple more days to go. Are there any mid majors you guys are looking at that you just want to see get in and get through? I mean, we got to pour one out for Kyle's South Dakota State Jackrabbits. I know that's a team that Kmart always has his on. I saw they went down last night, so won't be them this year. But are there any other small schools, mid majors you guys want to shout out? Say, hey, keep an eye out for these guys. Like, they're pretty damn good, or they're a great story. Any that come to mind?
Say UNC Asheville at this point, possibly Drake, who I mentioned earlier. Just, both play solid defense, but UNC Asheville has a kid. Man, he's like 6'11". He kind of looks like me if I was 10 inches taller. But, long hair, kind of like Todd. And I think he was recruited by Tennessee. And he just I don't know if it was the recruits. I don't remember the entire story. I remember hearing about it this weekend, but he's good. So if he gets hot, because he can shoot from the perimeter, he can rebound, pass, he can kind of do it all. Doesn't have tremendous size, but that's a team to look out for. Drake, I like them. They're kind of like St. Peter's, where they play solid defense. For a Drake team, their offense isn't as good as it's been in years past, but I think, a dangerous team, in the tournament, at least taking the points on
them. For me, I think if I was outside of Furman, like I want to see Toledo make it, and I want them to play like a Bama in the first round. That total is going to be like 180. Toledo is the second highest scoring team at 85. They're on like a 13-game win streak right now in MACtion. I don't think they're out of conference. 15-game. I don't think the MAC's getting more than one team in. I don't think it's not a very good conference, and they have a pretty poor out-of-conference schedule that they played beforehand. Like, there's really not a notable win on their schedule other than, Vermont's going to make the tournament. But, man, that team can score. And I think if you get to a point where you can score and hang in there with some teams, I think they could cause a problem just with the pace that they play. That'd be an interesting one. So I'm going to root for the Toledo Rockets to hopefully win the MAC and come out of that.
Nice.
Who's coming out of the Big West?
Bakersfield.
I mean, you know who I want, but
Maddie tonight, Bakersfield Northridge.
Oh wow.
We're gonna get some clinks in that one.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I was
What
gonna
is the
post
total? 105.
125. They have gone. Their games were like 143 and 136, and they chalked up a 125. I'm thinking that's a prime under spot tonight in that one.
Nasty.
Wow.
I'll go with Hawaii. Just middle of the pack, but they play somehow. That little ass team plays good defense. So if they can get hot from the perimeter, I mean, most of their games they play tight anyway. I'll just take a shot on them and not be a homer with Long Beach State.
Who's favored? Is it Santa Barbara, UCI? Okay.
UCI, UCSB are the top two.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun. That was a good look at some conference tournaments, a good, fun conversation about what to look forward to in March. what we're going to do next, brackets are coming out on Sunday. We'll for sure have a show. I don't know if it's going to be Sunday night. I don't know if it's going to be Monday. I don't know if it's going to be, I don't know who's going to be on it. So we will for sure have something. Are you guys doing anything with Joey leading up to that for like some of the bigger tournaments that are going to be wrapping up this weekend?
Yeah, like I mean, there's no point of doing a Saturday show, so maybe, and I'll be driving the Tahoe, so I'm thinking like Thursday, Friday, as some of the bigger ones kind of start getting under the way. We can start talking about those.
You get some, Friday night, right? You get a bunch of semifinals because Saturday has a bunch of championship games. So
Sunday
Friday
night after Selection Sunday, or Monday, it doesn't.
We can do
matter.
a first reaction. Yeah, we can do like a first reaction on Sunday.
Yeah, we can definitely do an initial bracket reaction. Get that out, and man, God, tournament's almost here. What a fun! Yeah, the Players Championship this weekend at TPC Sawgrass. It is going to be just a phenomenal weekend, and I can't wait. And we appreciate everybody listening. So keep an eye out for our other stuff coming up. Follow the Twitter at FadeU Sports. You'll see when we go live with this stuff. And if you miss it, make sure you subscribe to the pod so that you can listen back. We got you covered for March Madness. Going to be a really, really fun next couple weeks. Once the tournament gets underway, we are going to have Ariel Epstein on in a couple weeks to talk some baseball and all these crazy new rules. So tons of good stuff coming up. Keep following us at FadeU. Chris, remind everybody sometimes what happens when you bet on poop.
Like Louisville, like that, you get one giant turd.
More like Loyola, man. All they had to do was hit a 3 at the end to get, those line bettors, a push. Shitty result.
No trophy for you.